Hello and welcome. I thought I would do something a little fun today and share my own personal journey with manifestation. If we are meeting for the first time, it is so nice to meet you. I'm Molly Williams. I am the founder of the Wild Minds meditation app, as well as the host of the Molly's Mornings Meditations podcast. And manifestation is something that I am so deeply passionate about. So just to give you a little backstory, I am an Aquarius. If you're into human design, I am a reflector. I'm also an advocate personality type. So I'm a dreamer. I'm also psychic. I've had intuitive knowings my whole life. I could predict things before they would happen. You can imagine growing up in rural upstate New York and in a Catholic household that my psychic gifts weren't something that was necessarily fostered. So from a very young age, I learned that if I wanted to fit in, it was better to kind of suppress that side of myself. As I did get older, this continued to kind of grow for me, where I constantly felt that my dreaming personality type and all of these things was almost less than. And I felt I had to hide essentially who I was to fit in with friends at school or, fit in with my family even. So this was very, very difficult. I was severely depressed in high school for most of my teenage life, actually. I struggled with bullying. I struggled with how to fit in. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to go to school for most of my life, I would say, but especially in high school. And I was in therapy. I was inpatient at times. I even attempted to take my own life. And I share this with you because this is the truth about my manifestation journey. This is all a part of it. I had moved so far away from who I was, and I had really lost touch with my inner essence that I just no longer felt that I wanted to even be here. I didn't know what was going to happen to me, what the point was, and all of this. Out of this darkness, I ended up working with a therapist that recommended to me to start learning about psychology. And it was really fun in a way because she would recommend books and different great psychologists to research and to learn about. And in our time together, I started to explore and learn about the mind. In this journey, I ended up finding a book in high school on manifestation. And manifestation was not like it is today. It was not talked about at the time. It was a very, very woo-woo. I think there were like only a handful of books talking about manifestation, which is crazy to see how far we've come. So I remember that moment of sitting down and learning about manifestation and realizing that rather than life kind of happening to me, I could co-create my own life. I could actively create what I wanted. Again, coming back to that Catholic kind of upbringing, I was raised that God has a plan, that God has a plan, God has a plan for you, God has a plan for you. And while there's a lot of love and trust in that, and there is an important component of okay, there's a plan for me, it also made me feel like my suffering, my pain, everything that I was going through was part of God's plan for me. And maybe, in hindsight now, looking where I am today, maybe that is true. But it also felt like God wanted me to suffer. God wanted me to be in pain. So seeing this manifestation book, thinking about co-creating my life, suddenly unlocked a new pathway for me where I realized I didn't have to suffer. I didn't have to be in pain. If I am co-creating my reality, co-creating my life, why can't it be more fun? Why can't it be more joyful? Why can't it be easier? So this was my origin story of manifestation from such a place of darkness to now to this day where I teach about manifestation is such a sacred sacred thing to be able to say. This isn't to say anything about being anti-religion, because actually I'm so grateful for my background in Catholicism. I was taught so much about love, about community and kindness and compassion. So I hope that's not what you're taking away from this, but this was really about me finding my power and finding my potential, understanding that I can be a co-creator. This really set me free. And for my first really conscious manifestation, I wanted to go big. So I remember thinking about it, and somewhere along the line, I discovered this volunteer trip to Ghana. It was the entirety of a summer. It was a big trip. It was expensive. And probably to my parents, it was like asking to go to Mars. I mean, here their daughter was so mentally ill. I was in therapy twice a week. I was on medications. You know, it just was probably the craziest thing in the world to think about sending me, you know, for 3 months or however long it was, somewhere on like the other side of the planet. But remarkably, they said yes. And that trip and that experience changed the trajectory of my entire life. My first manifestation literally saved and changed my life. I met friends, I dyed my hair jet black, I stepped into myself, who I was truly and deeply. I acknowledged things about myself that I had long suppressed. And that was such an exciting experience for me. So coming home as a teenager, you're like, yeah, this works. This is great. So I came home. I decided I was done with high school. I wanted to graduate early. I worked my butt off and I graduated early. I got out of there. I got off of medication. I stopped therapy. I felt so much better being in my authentic self. And I went on to college, where I met my now husband of over 7 years, and I manifested experience after experience in college. I graduated with my degree in biology, and I share that with you because as I share about all the woo-woo things, know that I do have a science background. So trust me, I have both sides of this, and I really am into research and all of it. So when I'm saying something to you, I really believe it. But yeah, it was such an exciting time where I started to see manifestation after manifestation. It became such a big just part of my lifestyle. And as Corey, my husband, and I manifested together, I created a business. He came on full time. We built that empire together. We traveled the world. The more you manifest, the more you just believe it to be true. You know, you just receive and receive and receive. So you're like, of course, this is real. This is happening. What was really interesting about my manifestation journey is that I ended up getting severely burned out. This was a few years ago now, and I had built everything I wanted. I had renovated a home, I had traveled the world, I had an over multiple six-figure business, I was working with Corey, like everything was going great, but I was so burned out. And I share this with you because this is like the next iteration of my manifestation journey, where I realized that just because we are great co-creators doesn't mean that we're using the manifestation skill positively. And that hit hard where I realized that I thought I knew what I wanted. I thought I knew what would make me happy. But as I manifested these things, I wasn't becoming more joyful. I was actually becoming more and more upset. I ended up getting severely ill. So as I manifested the jobs, as I manifested the money, as I manifested all this movement in my life, I ended up just feeling so exhausted. And this set me on a whole other path with my manifestation journey. So this is over, a decade plus at this point, way over a decade plus of manifesting. And to have this realization was like, whoa, okay, manifestation doesn't equal positive. We're constantly manifesting good and bad. And it's really important to be clear on what it is that you want and why. This really propelled me into a whole new journey of manifestation This was what set me up to teach manifestation, to create my own process around manifestation. We can co-create all of the things all the time, but if they aren't going to make us happy, if they're not going to improve our lives, then what is the point? That's not a powerful co-creator. That's not helpful to us. So I started to hone in my own process with manifestation. I learned that the first step must be to clear away the fear, the block around receiving what it is that we want most. So often we're creating what we think we should want rather than what we actually want. And this is all part of that fear component. My second part of my manifestation process was becoming clear on the why. Why do I want this? Again, is it something that I think I should want, or do I actually want it? The third step is to manifest with more intention, to have practices around manifestation. I was in this doing mode of manifesting, but when I slowed down and started to develop my own practices around manifestation, things like creating mandalas outside or moon water, everything became a lot more fun and it became a lot more meaningful. It was so much more purpose-driven, which is why I'm so passionate about teaching people how to manifest through practices. The fourth step of my process, this is pretty much ultimately the reason that I got burned out, is receiving with gratitude. If we're just receiving all the time without really appreciating everything that we have, everything that we've been given, there's this disconnect where we don't actually feel any better. And I think that's really important in the process of manifesting. Obviously, if we're grateful and we're celebrating, we feel fulfilled. We feel proud of ourselves. So this unique process kind of unfolded for me in real time. And that's exactly what I teach my clients and on the podcast and on the app is this exact step. And I'm so passionate about it. In a time that I was very ill, I found myself being like, what do I do now? I was going through extensive testing. The doctors weren't really sure what was going to happen to me. So I leaned into my old practices that I loved so much, like meditation and mindfulness and yoga, and trying to do things that I knew filled my cup in a unique way, in a really special way. In this time, I ended up starting a podcast, a daily meditation podcast called Molly's Morning Meditations, and this changed my entire life. I was so excited to share something with other people that maybe were struggling like me, and I thought maybe I'd have a couple listeners. It ended up going completely global. It was so exciting. I still am there weekly now, and it's such a special experience to connect with people. And this time of releasing the burnout and stepping back into who I am, my authentic self, that passion, that purpose, again, really started to shape and change the trajectory of my life. I think of manifestation a little like karate or a sport. And I think that we all are born with our little white belts when we come out of the womb. We have the potential to create. We have the potential to manifest. And I think that's really, really important. In high school, when I became aware of manifestation, when I became consciously aware of my ability to co-create, I believe that was kind of like getting my yellow belt, becoming, clear on this power as a co-creator. And then over the course of however many years, I've maybe moved up in the belts, becoming more and more clear on things. And certainly through my burnout phase, there was such a leveling up of being able to understand that not all manifestations are positive. And it's so helpful to be clear on why you're creating what you're creating. And rather than doing things because this is what everyone else does, to understand what you really want. So my manifestation journey has been kind of all over the place, but it's also been deeply moving. There's been so much growth here, so much learning, and I feel really honored for that because I can share all of it with my students, with people that I mentor, with people that listen to me on the podcast and on the app. It's just such a gift. It's so, so rewarding. What's really cool about manifestation is that it is a skill. It is this like karate-like leveling up, and there are masters of manifestation out in the world, and to see them create and create and create is so powerful. And I think it's inspiring to all of us that we can hone in and really craft and create this ability and continue to build on that over the course of our lifetime. So I feel really honored that I get to be kind of in the middle, like a brown purple belt. I'm not even sure that's accurate, but that I continue to build and learn all the time, and that we can only get better and better at manifesting. That is so exciting to me. Manifestation is a beautiful part of life and living, and I am so grateful for my experiences in life that have led me on this path and shaped who I am today. And manifestation is just such a part of who I am. I don't even really think about it anymore, but I'm so grateful I got to kind of reflect on the totality of my journey on the trajectory, because it reminds me of where I started and where I am today. I hope this inspired you. I hope this resonated with you. I would love to hear about your experiences with manifesting. I invite you to check out my app, Wild Minds, or the podcast, Molly's Morning Meditations. Find me on Instagram at Molly Loves Mornings. You are such a gift. Happy manifesting. Thank you for watching.